Welcome back to another exciting training video style production podcast. This month, we're going to focus on the Realm War and the various different types of RvR that make it up. You might remember this infamous scene from Paul and Jeff's presentation at Leipzig last year.
So the next slide is the most important slide that you will see. Jetzt wird's richtig, richtig.
Not very pretty, really, but then Jeff is a producer, not a visual artist. Still, he wasn't exaggerating when he emphasized how important this slide is. It does show the types of RvR in Warhammer Online, and gives a basic idea of how they work. As you might imagine, however, there's a lot more to talk about than this slide might indicate, so let's get into it. Let's deal with this small line at the bottom first, the campaign. Our last animated podcast finished by talking about battlefronts and tier control. Here's a brief overview. Each tier is a battlefront where fighting earns victory points. Get enough victory points and you capture the tier. Victory points in lower tiers spill over to upper tiers, helping you capture those tiers as well. Everything leads to Tier 4, another battlefront, where you fight your way towards your enemy's capital city, which you can lay siege to and capture, sacking the city in the process. Phew! That, in a nutshell, is the campaign. This podcast, however, is more focused on these three lines, what the slide refers to as determines control of a zone, skirmishes, battlefields, and scenarios. These are the three types of RvR that contribute to your realm's victory points, which are what determines control of a zone. To explain, let's take a look at another of Warhammer Online's racial conflicts, the zones that lie at the center of Empire versus Chaos. Let's use Tier 2, Troll Country and Ostland. Think of each tier like a big balancing scale. Each realm is doing whatever it can to pile victory points onto its own side of the scale in order to tip it far enough to win control of the zone. But wait. Before we get into the three RvR methods of gaining victory points, there are two other contributors that have not been mentioned, PvE and prior control. For PvE, or player versus environment, it's all about the completion of quests. Every quest you complete will add victory points. The more difficult the quest, the more it will count. As you quest, you will gain influence in the world. This influence will also translate into additional victory points. Prior control refers to the percentage of victory points from lower tiers that spills over into upper tiers. Obviously, Tier 1 gets no prior control points. Now we move on to the meat and potatoes of victory points, realm versus realm. Skirmishes. Skirmishes are the incidental, open-world player versus player conflict you will encounter only in the RvR area of each zone. It's very simple. See an enemy player, kill an enemy player. Get points. Battlefields. Battlefields are a little more involved. Every zone's RvR area is peppered with stationary objectives which your side can capture and hold. Capture a battlefield objective and hold it, you get points. Battlefield objectives, however, are either on or off. You either control it or you don't. Points don't keep accumulating as you hold them. So if you lose control, your enemy gets the points. And some objectives are worth more points than others. Scenarios. Scenarios take place in their own unique game space, separate from open-world gameplay. This is widely known as instanced content. Only players who join the scenario before it launches can get into fight, but don't worry, the game will launch as many instances as there are players to fight in them. They are point-based battles, your side versus your enemy, fighting over predetermined objectives. Because of the control instancing allows, each instance will automatically balance the sides, spawning NPC allies to help even the sides in unbalanced fights. As you battle over scenario objectives, both sides will be gaining points. The first team to reach the determined number of points for victory will be the winner. At the end of the fight, both sides will be awarded victory points based on their performance. Naturally, the victor gets a much higher reward. Scenarios will be the most varied, most balanced, and most fun RvR that Warhammer Online has to offer. Because of this, they count more towards victory points than any other form of RvR. And there it is. PvE, prior control, battlefields, scenarios, and skirmishes. They all play a part in helping your realm achieve victory. And that's it. The Realm War and victory points in action. Stay tuned for more animated podcasts.